In Boston, the offseason feels less like a pause and more like the tightening coil of a spring, waiting for the moment it explodes into motion. The questions that hover around the Celtics right now are not the kind you answer with a stat sheet or a predictable press release. They are the kind that pull you in, make you wonder what the front office is truly building, and force you to ask yourself whether the clues have been in plain sight all along. Neemias Queta as the starting center is not a rumor anymore. It is a possibility walking closer with each passing week. But is he the long-term answer, or just the first domino in a plan that has yet to reveal its final shape? The idea of him sharing the floor with someone like Hugo Gonzalez is intriguing, almost strange, yet there is an undeniable appeal in imagining two very different offensive skill sets, creating mismatches. Then there is Chris Boucher, the wild card, a forward who might sneak into the role of small ball center when the game demands something unconventional. Brad Stevens' silence on adding another traditional center is either the calm before a storm or a calculated move to test the limits of the current roster. Sometimes the absence of action is the loudest statement of all. Offensively, the uncertainty is just as fascinating. Without Tatum dominating possessions early in the season, Joe Mazzulla and his staff could embrace a faster, cut-heavy style that would unleash Jaylen Brown's explosiveness and give Derrick White more opportunities to orchestrate from the top. The Summer League hinted at an offense in constant motion, but hints are not promises, and the real unveiling will happen under the brighter lights. Brown is poised to take on a larger offensive role, a shift that carries both excitement and the unknown. Letting him initiate more plays could lead to growing pains, but also to breakthroughs that reshape his game. Derrick White remains the most reliable decision-maker, and Peyton Pritchard has the energy and vision to break defenses apart, circling and probing until a gap appears. Whether the Celtics truly push the pace depends on whether their leaders commit to it beyond November. When fatigue and strategy often slow the tempo, the season could be a minefield of surprises. Will Brown and White even reach 55 games, each with careful load management? Will Boucher's durability hold over 60 contests? And will Hugo Gonzalez carve out a real role after the All-Star break? Peyton Pritchard might start more games than expected, especially if Anthony Simons is moved, a trade that feels increasingly plausible given the luxury tax puzzle. Stevens may be quietly maneuvering to keep Boston under the first tax apron, opening doors to exceptions and flexibility that could shape not just this season, but the next era of Celtics basketball. The youth movement is equally unpredictable. Hugo's relentless effort makes him a long-term piece, while Josh Minott's vertical game could electrify fans in ways that stats cannot capture. Jordan Walsh has defensive potential that could still surface, and Baylor Shireman's shooting could swing games if it sharpens at the right time. One of these names might be in the playoff rotation by spring, and another could be part of a deal that tilts the roster in a new direction. Even veterans present mysteries. But Al Horford? Take a year away and return fully charged alongside a healthy Tatum, or is his path diverging for good? The answer may depend less on basketball and more on personal decisions. A reminder that careers are built on more than contracts and box scores. Not all surprises will be fireworks. Some will be quiet, like Xavier Tillman's steady impact from the bench, or a rookie's sudden burst of confidence in March. Others may feel like setbacks in the moment, but reveal their value later, as players grow into roles they never expected to own. There is a single thread running through every offseason conversation, is that the Celtics are not standing still. Every choice, whether bold or subtle, is steering them toward a version of the future that we have yet to fully see. The season ahead is not just about wins and losses, it is about discovery, about finding which combinations ignite the parquet and which ones fade under pressure. And that is why the biggest moments of the 2025 season may not be the ones anyone is predicting today. The return of the NBA Cup in 2025 will not just be another tournament for the Boston Celtics. It will be an early test that could reveal the deepest truths about the team's identity in this new chapter. While most of the regular season schedule for 2025 to 2026 remains hidden until the afternoon of Thursday, one thing is already certain: Boston's path in the Cup has been drawn. They stand in the Eastern Conference Group B alongside the Philadelphia 76ers, Brooklyn Nets, Detroit Pistons, and Orlando Magic. At first glance, this may seem like just another list of opponents, but the layers beneath tell a far more compelling story about what this group could mean for Boston's future. Last year, the Celtics entered the Cup with a surprisingly favorable draw, sharing Group C with the Atlanta Hawks, Washington Wizards, Cleveland Cavaliers, and Chicago Bulls. Even with that advantage, they posted a respectable 3-1 record in the group stage, yet still fell short of advancing to the quarterfinals. This season, the challenge is sharper, the stakes higher, and the margins thinner. Not only has the roster been reshaped, but Jayson Tatum, the franchise's cornerstone, is sidelined indefinitely, recovering from a ruptured Achilles tendon. His absence forces Boston to reimagine its core identity on the floor, making this cup a proving ground for how quickly they can adapt. The opening clash on October 30th, first against Philadelphia, carries far more uncertainty than a simple early-season contest. The Sixers are themselves a team in flux. On paper, they still possess the firepower of Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, and Paul George. Yet each name carries the shadow of health concerns. Embiid's knees remain a persistent worry. George may not be fully ready after summer surgery. And even the rising guard, Quentin Grimes, faces contract uncertainty as a restricted free agent. Boston, though missing Tatum, still has the championship-tested leadership of Jaylen Brown, the relentless energy of Derrick White, and the emerging consistency of Peyton Pritchard. In a setting where both sides are compromised, the advantage may belong to the team that has shown steadier resilience in recent years. And Boston's track record of withstanding adversity is difficult to overlook. On November 7th, the Celtics travel to face Orlando, a team that nearly turned their first-round playoff series into a war of attrition just months ago. The Magic have added all-star marksman Desmond Bane without sacrificing any of their core, which still boasts Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero. Their length, defensive discipline, and growing offensive balance pose a serious threat, especially without Tatum's scoring gravity. Boston's recent struggles at the Kia Center, where they have not won a regular season game since October of 2022, add another layer of intrigue. Yet this is precisely the type of hostile environment where a team can forge a new identity and prove it can win without leaning on a single superstar. November 21st brings a matchup with Brooklyn, the youngest and least experienced squad in Group B. The Nets' oldest player is under 29 years old. And while Michael Porter Jr. adds size and shooting, the loss of Cameron Johnson leaves them thin on both ends of the court. This is the kind of game where Boston's veteran leadership and proven playoff composure can overwhelm raw talent. It is also an opportunity to experiment with new rotations and test the depth of their bench against a team still building its foundation. The group stage closes on November 26th against Detroit, a team quietly turning the corner from years of frustration. Cade Cunningham's emergence as an all-star gives them a centerpiece to rally around. Tobias Harris continues to deliver, and Jaden Ivey's return from injury injects more backcourt speed. The young Ausar Thompson adds athletic versatility. And even with Malik Beasley's suspension over betting violations, the Pistons are no longer the easy win they once were. Their victory over Boston in their most recent meeting ended a 3-year drought against the Celtics, and they will see this cup game as a chance to prove that result was no fluke. For Boston, it is the perfect stage to reclaim dominance over a historical rival and remind the league that even without Tatum, the Green still carries a championship heartbeat. This year's cup group is more than a sequence of games. It is a pressure chamber that will force Boston to accelerate its evolution. Every possession will be a test of adaptability, every opponent a measuring stick for how far. The Boston Celtics are on the verge of stepping into a completely new era, and the magnitude of what is about to happen cannot be overstated. In a move that sent shockwaves through the NBA's ownership landscape, the league's Board of Governors has given unanimous approval for the purchase of the franchise by Massachusetts native William Chisholm. The figure involved is staggering: $6.1 billion, a number that not only underscores the Celtics' immense value, but also reflects the global power this team represents in sports. There was never a hint of resistance during the vote, a fact that says more than the simple act of approval. It signals the league's full endorsement of Chisholm's vision and the confidence that the Boston Celtics, under his leadership, can reach heights that transcend the basketball court. The agreement, initially struck in March, was at the time a record-breaking sum for any North American sports team, only to be surpassed shortly afterward by the Los Angeles Lakers' $10 billion sale. Yet, in Boston's case, this is not merely about outbidding competitors. It is about strategic positioning in a league that is evolving faster than ever. Chisholm's acquisition plan is calculated for both immediate impact and long-term dominance. His group will first secure a 51% controlling stake from the Grousbeck family, ensuring decisive influence from the moment the ink dries on the deal. The remaining shares will be transferred in 2028, a date that already feels like a checkpoint in a larger blueprint designed to build sustained competitive advantage. It is a phased takeover, one that allows continuity under current Governor Wyc Grousbeck, who will remain as alternate governor and CEO through the 2027-2028 season. This gradual transition hints at a strategic knowledge transfer, preserving institutional memory while injecting fresh energy and resources into the organization. For Celtics fans, the implications are enormous. This is not a simple change of ownership. It is a rare moment when financial power, local loyalty, and long-term vision align perfectly. Chisholm is not an outsider seeking a trophy asset. He is a lifelong fan who understands the team's cultural and historical weight, yet also sees the untapped opportunities in a franchise that already sits at the summit of the sport. From global marketing potential to infrastructure expansion and player development innovation, the avenues for growth under his stewardship are virtually limitless. The Celtics brand, already iconic, could be positioned for a modern renaissance that goes beyond banners in the rafters. With the NBA pushing into international markets at an unprecedented pace, Boston could find itself at the center of a global basketball wave. A combination of Chisholm's business acumen, his Massachusetts roots, and the Celtics' already dominant competitive structure could transform the team into not only the most feared on the court, but the most influential off it. This sale, once finalized, will not just close a chapter. It will open a new one filled with possibilities that stretch far beyond the next season. The numbers may grab headlines, but the real story lies in what this deal could mean for the future of the franchise. The question now is not whether Boston can remain a contender, but just how far they can push the limits of what a modern NBA dynasty looks like. Celtics are standing at the edge of one of the most consequential shifts in their modern history, a moment that could silently redefine the franchise's path for decades. On Wednesday, August 13th, the NBA confirmed in an official statement that the sale of the Celtics had been unanimously approved by the league's Board of Governors. Clearing the way for a new era in Boston, the price was staggering, $6.1 billion, a figure that instantly places this deal among the most expensive in sports history. The buyer is Bill Chisholm, a man whose name was not at the center of speculation when the team first went on the market, but whose arrival now feels almost destined. The sale followed the championship triumph of 2024, when the Grousbeck family, after years of stewardship, decided it was time to pass the torch. Months of silent maneuvering and private evaluations ensued, with Wyc Grousbeck carefully sifting through offers, not only weighing numbers but also searching for the right person to inherit one of the most storied legacies in all of sports. Chisholm is not just an investor seeking another portfolio gem. He grew up on the North Shore, attended college in New England, and carries the kind of emotional connection to the team that cannot be manufactured. In an interview shortly after the acceptance of his bid, he spoke not in corporate language, but with the voice of someone who has lived the highs and lows from the stands. He acknowledged the Celtics' place in Boston's identity, describing it as something that cannot be replicated in any other American city. A bond that blends history, pride, and responsibility into something almost sacred. The intrigue now deepens because Chisholm will hold the keys not only to the roster's future, but to the financial ceiling of the franchise. Fans know that luxury tax lines and spending thresholds often determine how far a contender is willing to go in pursuit of banners. And Chisholm's personal passion for the team hints at a willingness to push those boundaries when it matters most. The question that quietly lingers is how far he will go when that decisive moment arrives. Initially, the plan was for Wyc Grousbeck to remain as the team's governor through the 2027-2028 season, easing the leadership transition while maintaining a steady hand, but that script has already been rewritten. On Tuesday, August 12th, ESPN reported that Grousbeck will instead serve as alternate governor and CEO, while Chisholm takes over the governor role years ahead of schedule. This acceleration shifts the balance of decision-making power immediately, placing Chisholm in direct command of the Celtics' direction, without the prolonged handover that was once envisioned. From a business perspective, this is not entirely surprising. When someone commits over $6 billion to a franchise, the desire to influence its destiny without delay is almost inevitable. Yet the real drama lies in what kind of impact this rapid assumption of power will have. Will Chisholm's early governance spark an aggressive wave of strategic moves, or will he choose a more measured approach to preserve the current core while planning the next great leap? That is the unknown that fans now find themselves watching unfold. For the Celtics faithful, there is a unique optimism in knowing the new steward is not an outsider chasing prestige, but a lifelong supporter who understands the heartbeat of the Garden crowd. The league has seen ownership changes that led to identity shifts, relocations, or years of instability, but Boston's case feels different. The roots here run deep, and Chisholm's personal history suggests he is more likely to protect and build upon what already makes the Celtics a cultural giant. There is also the broader competitive landscape to consider. The NBA is entering an era where the margin between good and great can come down to an owner's willingness to take calculated risks. With Boston already holding one of the most talented rosters in the league, Chisholm's influence could be the difference between maintaining a contender and creating a dynasty. Every decision on spending, trades, and infrastructure will now be filtered through his vision. And his early comments signal a man ready to embrace that weight. The official transfer of control is expected soon, and when it happens, Boston will effectively enter a new chapter. The banners already hanging in the rafters will remain untouched, but the pursuit of the next one will be shaped by fresh hands, guided by a mix of financial muscle and genuine devotion. The excitement now comes from the unpredictability of it all. The possibility that the first major decision under Chisholm's watch could set the tone for years. In the meantime, the focus remains sharp. Celtics are still in position to compete at the highest level, and the commitment from the new leadership to keep Boston in the championship conversation is clear. What happens next will not just determine the fate of a season, it could mark the start of a legacy that future generations of fans will look back on as the moment everything changed.